Hello, my name is Alexei Tsikarev. I am a member of the Karelian community from Russia, and I am going to present on the Karelian language policies and informal measures to support this language and linguistic diversity in the Republic of Karelia and the rest of the Russian Federation. Back home in the Republic of Karelia, I head a small NGO, non-governmental organization, which is called Center for Support of Indigenous Peoples and Civic Diplomacy, Nori Karelia, Young Karelia. Internationally, I am a member of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, a subsidiary body to the United Nations Economic and Social Council. My own educational background is in linguistics, and after having implemented numerous projects on the ground in indigenous communities, as well as having done international advocacy for the indigenous languages at the United Nations, I have decided to pursue my PhD in language revitalization and early acquisition of indigenous languages at the University of Colorado. I believe that this topic is among the most relevant ones for my own linguistic community in order to find ways how to resolve the problem of the lost generation in language transmission. Karelian language is a minority language in Russia and Finland. According to the last census, there are 65,000 people belonging to the Karelian people in Russia. There are no reliable data when it comes to Finland, but estimate is 25,000 Karelians. In Russia, most Karelians, 45,000 people, live in the Republic of Karelia. There are also large groups of Karelians living near Moscow, capital city area, and St. Petersburg, the cultural capital of Russia. In 1600s, Karelians had left their homeland at the Karelian Isthmus in between of the biggest European lake Ladoga and the Finnish Gulf, and had gone to their current places of residence. Over different historical times, Karelian language has been targeted by assimilation, urbanization, and unprofessional or discriminatory language policies. Especially in the Soviet era, government approaches towards Karelian language have changed repeatedly. In the 30s, in an attempt to make minority languages present in education system, they developed textbooks on the Latin script, which did not last for a long time though, and was changed to Cyrillic. During and after the Second World War, Karelian was switched to Finnish. Students and their parents were discouraged to use the language, not only in schools, but also at home. They tagged to the language's negative patterns as outdated, not modern enough to reflect changes of the rapidly industrializing society. On the eve of the Soviet Union's collapse, at the era of so-called ethnic renaissance, when newly established or re-established national movements started their advocacy, the government of the Republic of Karelia adopted the Karelian script basing on the Latin alphabet. And all further development of the language, literature and journalism in the Karelian language was marked by this fact. As it is put by the Institute of Linguistics of the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Latin script ensures historical and cultural connections of the Karelian language to closely related languages such as Finnish, Estonian and Sami. Related languages are a great source for the new vocabulary and the development of the Karelian language. The current situation, when only half of Karelians can speak Karelian as mother tongue, requires urgent and creative measures which need to be deployed in the education system, administration, the media and cyberspace. There is a need for early immersion programs like language nests, modern textbooks, online courses, more educated teachers. The visibility of the language in villages and cities should be increased. Languages should be allowed to use in all public spaces like courts, police stations, hospitals, in voting ballots. The existing legislation in the Republic of Karelia, in particular the Republican law on state support for the Karelian, Vepsian and Finnish languages, already allows for providing all public services in this language. However, this legislation does not deal with issues as intergenerational trauma and low language prestige, which have to do with the situation when many adults and elders lost confidence in their mother tongue and do not transmit it to the next generations. Karelian Congress, the main representative body of the people, is confident that for this to be fixed, Karelian language must become a state language in the Republic of Karelia. Currently, this is not possible because the federal legislature has decided that only languages based in Cyrillic script can become state languages in order to preserve the unity of the Russian nation and the role of the Russian language as the one which ensures smooth interethnic communication in the country. This policy means how other than human rights-based approaches still prevail in state policies. Karelian language is not unique in this weak position as a minority language. It is a part of a broader community of Finno-Ugric languages spoken in the Nordic countries, Estonia, Hungary, and most of them in Russia. Komi, Mari, Udmurt, Khanty, Mansi, Erzya, Moksha, Veps, and others have the same symptoms. Researchers think that the next census will show further decrease in population of Finno-Ugric peoples, but even greater degree of decline in language users. That is why Karelians joined the international community in its effort to proclaim the International Year of Indigenous Languages 2019 and the International Decade for Indigenous Languages 2022-2032. Only joint efforts by states and linguistic communities can facilitate restoration of language vitality. Now I would like to ask you, how do you think formal and informal education systems can collaborate, and what is the role of linguistic language activists in revitalization and maintenance of indigenous languages? How states can make language policies inclusive of indigenous communities, of their members, elders, youth, people with disabilities? And finally, how the International Decade of Indigenous Languages can help save indigenous languages.